The concrete trash can rebellion. It was a quiet Monday morning in the tidy cul-de-sacs of Willow Grove, a suburban enclave where every lawn was clipped to precisely 2.5 inches and every mailbox gleamed with HOA-approved beige. But beneath the surface of this manicured paradise, a war was brewing, a war over a trash can. My name is Tom Bennett, and I'm the guy who decided to fight back. Not with lawyers or letters, but with 300 pounds of concrete and a whole lot of spite. This is the story of how I took on the HOA president, Helen Whitaker, and turned our neighborhood upside down. It all started at 5:45 a.m., the sky just bruising into dawn. I was in my kitchen, cradling a mug of black coffee strong enough to wake the dead. This was my sacred time, the only 15 minutes of peace before the world and Willow Grove's relentless HOA start making demands. Out my window, my forest green, 64-gallon trash can sat exactly 36 inches from the asphalt, per Section 9, Paragraph C of the Willow Grove Homeowners Association bylaws. I'm a guy who respects rules, not because I love them, but because I love finding the gaps in them, those sweet loopholes you can drive a truck through. Then I heard it, the low, electric hum of a silver BMW X5, gliding down the street like a smug shark. At the wheel was Helen Whitaker, HOA president, queen of the cul-de-sac, her smile a polished weapon of passive-aggressive warfare. She didn't slow down. Her car drifted just enough to clip the curb, and then crunch. My trash can spun through the air, spewing coffee grounds and junk mail across my pristine lawn. The BMW corrected its course and sailed on, Helen's eyes fixed ahead, serene as ever. This wasn't the first time. It was the fourth Monday in a row. The first time, I chalked it up to an accident. I cleaned up the mess and bought a new can. The second time, I sent a polite email to the HOA board, attaching a photo of the wreckage. Their reply? A form letter about ensuring waste receptacles don't obstruct the roadway. The third time, I moved the can so far back it was practically in my azaleas. She still hit it. That's when she rolled down her window and said, "Curb appeal matters, Tom. Try placing it somewhere prettier." I pointed out it was 36 inches from the road, exactly as required. "Rules bend for safety," she replied, her smile sharp as a knife, and drove off. That's when I knew. This wasn't about trash cans. This was personal. Helen and I had a history, petty squabbles over my navy blue welcome mat, not HOA-approved taupe, and a garden gnome she deemed excessively whimsical. She was sending a message. She was in charge, and I'd better fall in line. My buddy Mike, a lawyer who thinks in terms of lawsuits and precedents, urged me to install a camera and sue for property damage. But that's her game: paperwork, threats, control. I'm a tinkerer. My garage is my fortress, filled with tools, logic, and the smell of motor oil. I don't fight with letters. I fight with physics. By the fifth Monday, watching my garbage scattered like confetti, I wasn't mad anymore. I was clear. This was an engineering problem, and I had the perfect solution. I pulled up the HOA bylaws on my workshop computer, all 112 pages of bureaucratic drivel. Section 9 was clear. Trash cans had to be forest green or charcoal gray, 64 gallons, 36 inches from the curb, out by 7 a.m., back by 9 p.m. But Helen, in her power-hungry precision, forgot one thing. The bylaws said nothing about what the can had to be made of. A grin spread across my face. I wasn't going to sue her. I was going to build something she couldn't destroy. For 6 days, my garage became a laboratory. I called it Project Whitaker's Wall. The plan? A concrete trash can disguised as its flimsy plastic cousin. It had to look identical from 3 feet away, but weigh enough to stop a BMW in its tracks. I started with a mold, lining my dented plastic can with sheeting, and centering a smaller 50-gallon can inside for a uniform 2.5-inch concrete shell. I calculated the weight, 300 pounds of lightweight, fiber-reinforced concrete just under the garbage truck's lift capacity. Then came the skeleton, a rebar cage, welded tight, to handle the sheer force of a vehicle impact. Mike stopped by, eyed the rebar, and muttered, "This screams lawsuit." "It's a trash can," I said. "A very safe trash can." I poured the concrete, tamped out the bubbles, and let it cure. By Sunday, I cut away the molds, revealing a smooth, gray cylinder. I swapped the plastic axle for a steel hub with solid tires rated for 400 pounds. The final touch? Epoxy paint in exact forest green, complete with a scuffed-up recycling logo for authenticity. It was a masterpiece of defiance, a 300-pound middle finger to Helen Whitaker. Monday dawned gray and quiet. I rolled the can to the curb using a dolly, positioning it precisely 36 inches from the road. I set up a camera in my window, checked the angle, and waited. The garbage truck came first, its arm groaning but lifting the can cleanly. Test 1 passed. Then I heard the hum. My heart pounded as Helen's BMW rounded the corner, headlights slicing through the mist. Her car drifted right, tires kissing the curb. Then crack. Not the cheap crunch of plastic, but the deep, bone-rattling sound of German engineering meeting American concrete. The BMW stopped dead. The can didn't budge. The front bumper was crumpled, the headlight shattered, the hood bent into a shocked V. The car's alarm wailed like a wounded animal. Helen stepped out, her business suit pristine, her face a mask of fury. She stared at the can, then kicked it. Her designer heel bounced off with a thud, and she yelped, hopping on one foot. Neighbors emerged, phones out, recording her meltdown. "You did this," she screamed, pointing at me. "This is a weapon. I'll have you arrested, Tom Bennett. I'll ruin you." My neighbor Jim, munching a donut, called out, "Lady, you hit the can first." The crowd laughed. I sipped my coffee and let the camera roll. 2 days later, a cream-colored envelope arrived via certified mail. The HOA, led by Helen, had convened an emergency meeting and declared my trash can an unsanctioned landscape fixture and a hazardous device. The fines were jaw-dropping: $500 for unapproved modification, $1,000 for a public nuisance, and $1,500 for a defensive fortification intended to cause property damage. Total, $3,000, plus $100 daily until I removed the weapon. It was absurd, but it was Helen's masterpiece rewrite of reality where my trash can was the villain. Mike laughed so hard he nearly choked. "This won't hold up in court," he said. "She's panicking." But this wasn't about court. It was about power. Helen wanted to crush me with paperwork and fear, to make an example of me. I hung the letter on my garage wall, next to my blueprints, and got to work. If she wanted petty, I'd give her petty. First, I built a motorized platform for the can, programmed to roll out at exactly 7:01 a.m., mocking her obsession with the 7 a.m. rule. The neighborhood loved it. Next, I framed her daily violation notices fines for intimidating coloration, its forest green, and improperly stored materials, a bag of potting soil, and displayed them on my lawn with museum-style plaques. I called it the Willow Grove Gallery of Grievances. Cars slowed to gawk, and laughter spread. My crowning move was the driveway mural. Helen fined me for a tiny oil stain, citing the rule that driveways must be clean and uniform. So I rented a pressure washer and spent an afternoon blasting away grime to carve a cartoonish BMW crashing into a superhero trash can. It was clean, it was uniform, and it was a giant, sarcastic middle finger. Helen's repaired BMW started parking across the street, watching my house like a vengeful specter. She was losing control, and I was becoming the neighborhood jester, exposing her tyranny with every stunt. Then came the escalation. A thick envelope arrived, announcing that the HOA would send contractors to remove my can on Monday at 9 a.m. This wasn't a fine, it was a threat to invade my property. I spent the weekend reading my deed, state laws, and the HOA bylaws. HOAs can fine you, but seizing property without a court order? That's a legal gray area, and in most states, it's flat out illegal. Helen was betting I'd back down. She was wrong. Monday morning, a flatbed truck rolled up, its lights flashing. 2 burly contractors approached my can. Helen watched from her BMW, smirking. Mike was on my porch, filming. Jim set up a lawn chair with a cooler, ready for the show. The contractors tried to lift the can. It didn't move. They grunted, sweated, and gave up. I stepped out, holding my deed and a 5-foot logging chain. "Gentlemen," I said, "that work order isn't a court order. Touch my property, and I'll press charges." I pointed to Mike's camera. They hesitated, glancing at Helen. She stormed over, demanding they remove the illegal structure. The lead contractor shut her down. "Lady, I'm not getting sued over a trash can. Get a judge's signature." Helen called the police. claiming I was threatening the workers and harboring a hazardous object. When the cops arrived, she played the victim, trembling with fake fear. I didn't argue. Instead, I wrapped the chain around the can, locked it to my waist, and sat on the grass of peaceful protest. The officers sighed. "Sir, unchain yourself," the female cop said. "This is a civil matter, but you're obstructing us." I refused, calmly stating I was protecting my property. They had no choice. With a loud snap, they cut the chain and cuffed me for obstruction. As they led me to the squad car, Helen's triumphant grin burned into my mind. She thought she'd won. Jail was cold and grim. I shared a cell with a guy who tried to trade a raccoon for a burger and another who just sobbed. The cheese sandwich tasted like regret. But as I sat on that metal bench, I knew it was worth it. Helen's victory was her mistake. Mike's video of my arrest went viral, 100,000 views on a local news site, thousands of comments on Reddit, Twitter, TikTok. "Man arrested for defending trash can from HOA tyrant" was the headline. The internet crowned me a hero. When Mike bailed me out, the neighborhood had changed. Neighbors I barely knew gave me thumbs up. My phone buzzed with messages. "You're a legend. HOAs suck. Where can I buy that can?" The video broke Helen's spell of fear. For years, she'd ruled Willow Grove with petty finesse, $200 penalty for a garish garden hose, a warning for a kid's chalk rainbow. People had complied out of fear. Now, they were angry and brave. The rebellion grew. My neighbor Lisa stuffed her trash can with cinder blocks. Others added sandbags or chains. Jim became the revolution's cheerleader, rallying signatures for an emergency HOA meeting. The bylaws required 10% of homeowners to demand it, and we got triple that in a day. Helen had to comply. She called the meeting, framing it as a discussion on community safety. She thought she could intimidate us with PowerPoint slides and big words. She was wrong. The clubhouse was packed, every chair taken, people standing against the walls. Helen stood at the podium, gavel in hand, delivering a polished speech about property values and aesthetic uniformity. She painted me as a dangerous rebel. But when she opened the floor, the room turned on her. Mr. Thompson called out her fine for his chartreuse hose. A mom recounted a warning for her kid's sidewalk art. Story after story poured out fines for flags, wind chimes, basketball hoops an inch out of place. Helen's smile cracked. She banged her gavel, but the room was done listening. I spoke last. "An HOA should lift us up, not tear us down," I said. "This isn't about my trash can. It's about respect. About fair rules, not one woman's vendetta." The room went quiet. Then Jim stood, holding the bylaws. "Article 3, Section 2, he boomed. "A board member can be removed by a majority vote of no confidence." I moved to remove Helen Whitaker. The crowd roared. The vote was a landslide. Only her two cronies dissented. Helen grabbed her briefcase and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The room erupted in cheers. The weeks after were calm. We revised the bylaws, adding a line to Section 9. Trash cans must be constructed of a material sufficient to withstand routine contact. My concrete can was now just a trash can, legal, ordinary, unbreakable. Helen faded into the background, avoiding meetings, giving trash cans a wide berth. The neighborhood threw a block party, and Jim, in a grill general apron, was king. People chatted over fences, unafraid. The air felt lighter. I'm back in my garage now, sketching a GPS-guided lawnmower for fun. I'm not a rebel anymore, just Tom, the guy with tools. Monday mornings are routine again. I roll my can out, the motor humming, and set it 36 inches from the curb. The garbage truck lifts it smoothly, no drama. The can stands there, solid and quiet, a reminder of the fight we won. Not with violence, but with unity. Helen thought she could bully us forever. She forgot we're stronger together. The line between law and revenge. It's the curb. On my side, I build, I plant, I try. On the other side, life happens, cars pass, people choose. The trick is standing firm without being cruel, protecting what's yours without starting a war. My can isn't a weapon. It's a shield. A symbol that respect is non-negotiable. What do you think? Was I right to fight back with concrete, or did I go too far? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially about standing up to bullies and where you draw the line between justice and vengeance. Let's hear your take.